Well, welcome to another edition of The Team. I'm John Sinclair. I'm going to be your coach walking you through this movement sequence today. What we're going to focus on is trying to improve some mobility in and around the hips. So our focus is kind of in this general region here. And we're going to do that with kind of like a series of movements that we call mobilizers. Mobilizers are slow, subtle motions. And then what we're going to do is we're going to integrate them into specific activities that are going to create some motion in and around the hips and around the lumbopelvic region. So lumbar spine, pelvis, iliofemoral joint, or otherwise known as the hip joint. So first thing we're going to do is we're just going to get into a stationary march. So going for, start my little clock here, going for 1 minute, we're just going to go into a stationary march. You can pick a nice comfortable pace that you start at. Your knee's really only coming up to about a 45-degree angle. You don't have to bring your knee up way, way high. It's kind of counterproductive. And in fact, what we can think about is just trying to bring your heel closer to your tail. Okay, so just getting a bit of a march going. There we go. And let's try a little squat and see what that feels like today. Try a few squats. See what that feels like in the hip. And then we go right back into march. So think about that squat because we're going to come back to it today and see if you start to feel better around the hip. There we go, coming up on 1 minute. We're going to change our activity. And this time as we march, you're going to travel to the right. And then you're going to travel to the left. So the angle in which you're hitting the ground is going to have to change a little bit as we go into that march. If you feel like you want to pick up your pace a little bit, the easiest way to do that is just push off the ground a little bit harder. Okay, try a few squats. Yeah, then back to the marching, going side to side. Front view. Ten seconds. We'll be moving on to the next drill. Looking good, feeling good. Get some circulation pumping in the body. There we go. Heart rate's up a little bit. That's a good thing. Next one we're going to do is you're going to take your toes. You're going to point them in like you're a hockey goalie. Okay, so toes are turned in. Just like this, like you're trying to keep pucks from going between your legs. And all you're going to do is you're going to sit, reach, both hands out. So somebody's handing you a basket full of apples. It's not as entertaining this week. Last week we had trays of martinis. This week it's baskets of apples. Now this squat is supposed to feel odd. What we're doing is we're internally rotating the hip and kind of jamming them up a little bit. And we're doing this to be an active stretch through the tissues that wrap around the hip bone. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open the hip up. So we close the hip, now we're going to open it. So you're going to start by opening your feet up like you're making a reverse L position. You're just going to squat, trying to keep the knees wide. Back, open up the other way. Squat, knees wide. So trying to make an L position. Or if you're a fan of chess, it's like the pattern that your knight can move in. Alternating left to right. Okay, let's do a check for improvement. Go ahead and go back to your squat and see if that feels better in and around the hip joint. I know mine feels a little bit better. Okay, so now our focus is going to be on the lower back here. So in doing so, we want to get the pelvis to be able to do this. So one way in which we're going to do that is you're going to take one step to the side And then your hands are going to come over, 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 over. So your hands are going side to side as you step side to side. You just plant that foot behind you. And we're asking that sacroiliac joint, this joint right here, runs up and down, just to move side to side a little bit. Have a little rotation. Move the sacrum on the pubic or the pelvic bone. Okay, I'll do a couple side to side. Okay, little check for improvement. Now we're starting to glide, Johnny. That's feeling better, buddy. Okay. So now we're going to do what we call a hamstring sweep. You're going to have one foot goes out and forward in front of you. Sweep your hands down and up. Other foot goes forward. Sweep the hands down and up. This is also what we call a decoupling exercise for the hip. It also adds a little bit of stretch into the muscles that run on the back side of the body, primarily your calf, your hamstring, and the muscles that run up and down your spine. One more each. Okay, check for improvement. Oh yeah. Okay, work in the garden now. And the last one we're going to do is just a little bit of an elastic hip stretch. We're going to start with your hands on your hips. And all we're going to ask you is to try to think about creating as long of a motion between the tissue in the abdomen and your trail hip. Just rock your hip. This knee forward is easiest probably cue to do, leaving this trail hip behind. We're going to start with subtle motion of that hip joint, working on the connective tissue at the front of the hip. Okay, and then we go to the other side, get a long stance, a little bit of motion, again, subtle motion or mobilizer for the front of the hip. Okay, now let's just add a bit of a swing to it. Other side. And then we check to see how we're moving. There you go. How'd that one feel? Hope that felt good for you. I feel like mobile, and I think I'm going to start a little workout now. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Please chime in, communicate with us on social media, and let us know if there's anything we can do to enhance your experience throughout the day. Awesome job, everybody. Have a great, excellent rest of your day.